All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We are so excited to host an expert panel on creating listing opportunities and differentiating yourself. We have an awesome group of panelists here today. Before I jump in and introduce them and have them share a little bit about themselves, I just kind of wanted to give you a couple Zoom tips and advice. So panelists are going to be audio, video on today. All of our attendees are able to use the chat box. So if you guys do have questions that you would love to see us ask the panelists, please go ahead and add any questions, comments, thoughts in the chat box. I will be keeping an eye on that as we go today. We are also recording this session, so you guys will have access to the recording. We will send that out and put it on our new Google Drive, so it's easy for you guys to go back and replay it and watch it whenever it's convenient for you. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to start with Jen Watson. Jen is our VP of Training and Development from Moving Station. So we've been working very closely with Jen since we formed a relationship and partnership with them, and since we launched our Quick Buy program. So Jen, did you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining all of us today. I've been with the Quick Buy team for a little over 10 years now, so it's a program that's very near and dear to my heart. And we have had a relationship with Home Sale for quite a long time with relocation with formerly Alicia Motter. So sorry to see her go, but so excited that Catherine Marion is stepping into the position and taking over. And we've had such a good relationship with your brokerage for a long time, assisting you guys, helping you do what's really important in real estate, capturing more listings, working on marketing and the selling of a home. And the Quick Buy program really just translates into more of that, giving you more options, more conversation starters to get your foot in the door with more sellers out there, and how important that is, especially with how little inventory there is right now in the marketplace. So I'm just excited to be here today. And no question is a question that you shouldn't ask. So feel free to ask whatever questions you want, and think that another agent may have the same question too.
Okay, and then thank you, Jen. We have Craig Hartraft here from our Craig Hartraft team. So he is the team leader, and he is from our North Point office. So Craig, did you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you, Jen, for having me on the panel. I've been in the business now 32 years, and I've been with Home Sales since year 2000. And I specialize in residential sales, and have a team over here in North Point. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. We also have Laurel Windsor. Laurel is an agent in our Hershey office. Laurel? Laurel, you just need to unmute there.
Sorry, I thought you unmuted me. Okay. So thanks for having me on today. I am currently in the Hershey office, but I did most of my business up in the Camp Hill office until just recently. So I'm 7 years in as an agent, and I think I may have been the guinea pig for this program. I think I was the first one, but anyway, we'll talk about that coming up.
Yep, I think you were as well. And then we also have Louis Jean, who is also from our North Point office.
Hi, Jen. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm excited and psyched to be a part of this panel. It's an honor. I've been at North Point office since 2019, so a little over 3 years. And I'd say in that time frame, I kind of joke about it with everyone. I say that in the 3 years as an agent, I think I've seen all the markets that there are to see. So I'm excited to be here.
It's hard to believe it's been 3 years. It's gone quick. So let's go ahead and dive in, and then again, feel free to use that chat box if you want us to ask any follow-up questions or add anything in along the way and as we go. So the first question I have for you guys is, how are you currently generating listing leads? So if somebody wants to dive in and start, and then we can kind of chime in and layer on top of that, that would be great.
Well, I guess our number one source of listing leads is our past clients. I've been in the business since 1989. So I'm fortunate enough to have quite a few past clients throughout those years. And the key thing is staying in touch with those clients, and a variety of ways we do stay in touch with them. We typically will stay in touch with them by phone call, by newsletters, by client events, and just staying in touch with those clients, and then they come back as sellers. Another source, we started doing some radio advertising and television advertising in the past 10 years. So that's another avenue we look at. And then we do some farming in the area. We picked a couple zip codes, and I've been farming since 1997. So that's another source of business to attract sellers. And then we started getting into the social media marketing within the last couple of years also.
Okay. Laurel, did you want to add there?
Sure. Yeah, I am. It's kind of scattershot, I think, for me. I have, when I went and looked at last year, there were 10 different sources of business. I am, so just 7 years in, so I am getting past clients, repeat clients, and client referrals. But some of the business comes off of listings, obviously, and open houses and that sort of thing. Also involved in relo. So I get that business. I have an agent who retired who gave me her list of business. So, it's like, it's everything. One of the things I feel that I really haven't explored and want to focus on this year and forward is marketing. I really haven't done a lot of marketing. I do pay for some leads. I do have some Zillow money out there. So, it's all, it's like a broad range of sources.
Okay. Louis?
Yeah, sure. So for me, it's also a broad range of sources as well. I started out trying marketing. It didn't work out well for me. It's not that marketing didn't work, but marketing is one of those long-term strategies that if you don't have a significant amount of cash flow to leverage it on a continual basis, it's a little bit challenging. And so I ended up having to stop and put it on pause. I was getting some leads, but none of them really converted, and I just couldn't continue down that path. So most of my leads now currently are actually from Sphere of Influence, which is, I remember when I did the training coming on board, that one of the things that Jackie had mentioned was, you're gonna have to wait at least 3 years. And she was right, because at that 3-year mark, something just happens, and it's kind of like the floodgates open. Everybody who you've been reaching out to over time, they suddenly, something's happening in their lives, and all of a sudden your sphere of influence become really active. And then from past clients, I've gotten referrals as well. And one area that really has worked well for me is listing leads. So from my listings, I would actually generate other leads, and those are people who are actually looking for something similar to what I listed, but it was no longer available, and so I just capture them, and they've converted really well.
Awesome. Okay, we did get one question in off of some of the conversation that you guys started out with. Craig, how long do you farm an area before you start to see results from that?
That's a very good question. It took probably, like Lou said, probably close to 3 years till I saw a constant flow of seller leads coming in. So the number one lesson I learned from that is I tried farming in the past, and I tried for a couple of months, and then I'd stop, and then I'd try again, I'd stop, and that's not the way to do it. You really have to be committed. And it's financially, I would not recommend someone do farming when they first get into business unless they have a good war chest of money set aside to do that, because it can be very costly. When I first got into business, I was doing open houses every week. I was calling for sale by owners. I was calling the expireds, because that did not cost me anything. And then when my income started building up, then I committed to farming. I think my first farm, I think it was like 500 homes. Then I increased it to 1,000. Then I increased it to 2,500. Now I'm up to 13,000 households. Well, I didn't do 13,000 households just immediately. It was a process. to invest my money back into the business. So you do have to be patient. If you're not there for the long haul, I do not recommend the farming.
Yeah, I think the key thing from a little bit of what each of you guys touched on is being consistent. You know, picking one group, whether it's for sale by owners or expires or your sphere, starting there and being extremely consistent in what I would call your touch points, because it does take time. Like Lewis said, it took him 3 years when he started to start the conversations and the connections. And, you know, it's not firing darts at multiple different places. It's the same one over and over again in the same direction, and you're going to eventually hit it. So being consistent with those touch points, and then if it's SOI, then pulling in FSBOs, and then working that, and then pulling in expireds. And then that's kind of where Craig's saying, you know, do that consistently, and then pick an area to farm, get that going consistently so that you start to see results and expand it. So I think that's the biggest piece of advice from these conversations for everybody out there, is to pick one group and do it diligently and consistently so that you're top of mind for those people. And as you're seeing those results, and that's essentially a habit, then branch out and add the next element in there. Another question that came in: any tips for converting a lead into a client?
I would say ask questions. Jim McPhail, my business partner, we were just in a meeting this morning, and he said this over and over, and it's so true. Asking the questions what their ultimate goal is, and try to find a pain point. If you can find that pain point and show them how you have a solution to avoid that pain or avoid the harm of a situation in the selling process, that helps. So it's really just asking a lot of questions about their situation, and then sharing with them that you have some information you could share with them to accomplish their goal.
Yeah, so backing up even from that, that definitely involves a shift from like more passive farming and more passive touches to voice, face to face, to be able to do what Craig just talked through. So definitely something to get into the mix there. Laurel, were you going to say something when I started asking?
Yeah, I just wanted to build on what Craig said, and what he said is absolutely, you know, it's true. But sort of like the flip side of that same thought is to look for a point of pleasure for them. So sometimes it's really, you know, not something that they're trying to avoid, but really something that they finally decided they want to go to. You know, it's that kind of a point. But basically, the conversation then follows in a similar path. You're there to just answer all the questions and help them understand the process and give them, you know, a good feeling about what's happening, and you know, get them to a place of comfort in their decision making. When they start to feel comfortable with what they're trying to do, you've pretty much won them over.
Yeah, absolutely. Lewis, were you going to add something in?
Yeah, I agree with both what Laurel and Craig had mentioned. I don't have a whole lot to add to that, other than we are problem solvers. If we approach it that way, as you know, trying to figure out what is the problem or situation or challenge that they're facing, and how do we, you know, bring a solution to them. I think if we take it from that point, you're able to convert it. When I first started, I really was, I didn't see it that way. But it didn't take long before I recognized that that was the approach that was needed, and not so much trying to sell them. The last thing I ever wanted to be was a salesperson, but coming in, I kind of felt like, you know, even the exam says real estate salesperson. So you're like, hey, I'm going to sell. But really, at the end of the day, you're really helping people solve their situations. And if you approach it that way, it builds that relationship that eventually becomes a client.
Yeah, part of what we've been really embracing with Ninja selling and doing the Ninja installations is exactly that, Lewis. It's kind of shifting from I need to sell and I'm a salesperson to I'm a trusted advisor, and I'm providing value, and I'm advising and helping these people. They're the decision makers. So that's definitely a mindset shift, and, you know, really opens the door for opportunities when you approach it that way. Another question that came in, and I think it is a little bit is kind of what you guys just answered with, you know, doing the voice to voice and face to face and listening for those opportunities by hearing the pain or pleasure comments, but anything to add in terms of finding listings in this market where it's kind of far and few in between with the listing environment?
Well, we talked about past clients. If you have been in business for a while, don't assume the clients are aware of how the value of the homes have increased throughout the years. Some of them are not aware of that. Is just staying in touch with those past clients with a phone call and say, I just wanted to check in to see if you have any general questions on the real estate market. We do have the market has been very volatile and has been really increasing. Would you like to get an update on the pricing of your property? So again, you're just offering something to them. And that has been very helpful with us staying in touch with our past clients.
Absolutely. And that kind of goes back to the value, is keeping them updated, informed, and providing that value to them. And it gives the opportunity to have the conversation. Okay, so moving into the next question, as you talk with prospective sellers, what concerns are you hearing that they have with selling or buying in this market, and how have you helped them overcome that fear?
Well, I'd like to say that the thought just came with the last question and answer. The thought came to my mind. I've had a number of times when I have been involved in extensive conversations just about that, and unsuccessfully so. I mean, my folks eventually they feel that their position of selling is the fun part, and yes, they will sell it in a week, but they are intimidated by buying the next house. And they, in fact, not too distant past, of the handful of them said, you know what, we're holding off.
Yeah, what I'm finding is I've got several clients that are kind of, gun shy about pulling the trigger on, moving forward in this market because it's so uncertain. And then they're fearful of, well, what if I sell and it sells quickly, but I'm not able to figure out where I'm going in terms of what I want to buy, especially if they're upgrading. When they're downgrading, it's a little different because they kind of become the big fish in a small pond. But when they're upgrading, it's a little different because now they're kind of struggling a little bit, but they know they can afford it. But it's going to be a tough situation.
And what's great about this market, the sellers can be negotiating more terms better terms other than just pricing. And if you can sit down with the seller and share with them that fear of not finding something, we have an answer for that. And we have a variety of different options, and the seller can take control of the process. And one of them is they can ask for a rent back. The other option is they can make it subject to suitable housing. In the past, you'd only be able to say subject to suitable housing for 7 days. I truly believe buyers are trying to make their offers as attractive as possible, where you could go out there and make it subject to suitable housing for several months. And if you explain to your client that they have no skin in the game here, they can put their home under contract, get a buyer, and they could ask up to 3 months to find a home. And if they can't, they're not homeless. They have the right to void the contract or request an extension. In a normal market, you're not going to be able to ask for subject to suitable housing for 3 months. And then we have Quick Buy as the backup also, is sharing the program. We have shared this with them saying, we can settle with you. You have the money in the bank. that gives you peace of mind and helps you in the negotiations. And then you can lease back with this company up to 6 months. That's a huge offer. So when you're sharing that with the sellers, I really believe you need to get the face-to-face with them to explain that to them. There's so many leverage points they have on their side where they can go in, try to get the maximum price for their home, and then focus on trying to find the home. But again, they're not obligated, because some of those options they have is for them, and protects them through the process.
Jen, do you want to jump in and talk a little bit about some of those quick buy options?
Yeah, I'd love to. And just to piggyback on what Craig said, and we know as a partner with all of you at Home Sale that you getting the listing signed is the most important aspect of using Quick Buy for the program. It isn't just using the options that you have to not just get your foot in the door to talk with a seller that you may not have been able to talk with before, but giving them the confidence to sign the listing agreement with you because you have all the solutions. You're not afraid to offer the solutions to them because you want the best for your clients. And on the backside, of course, all the solutions of all the listing for you. So it's not as if you're handing your seller away to another company. When we buy the home from the seller, you're going to be listing and selling it for us. But it's an offering creative solutions depending upon what you may find out in discovery with your sellers or what you may not because they're too nervous to tell you that they're interested in other options. In that discovery or talking about these other options is where you are able to offer a solution for any situation your sellers are in. You essentially can walk into a listed appointment and say, I have many solutions. I have a solution that will overcome any obstacles you have to selling your home today. You have a seller that, is afraid, just like everyone said, to find a new home or be able to find a new home before they sell their home. Well, you've got Quick Buy immediate offer for that because it gives your seller the opportunity to receive a cash offer, but then pair that with lease back. And again, actually, they can lease back for up to 500 days if they'd like. We do find that most sellers choose about 90 days, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more, but it gives your sellers that flexibility to sell their home, to know what their offer is, to get a cash offer, not only find their new home, but remember, with a cash offer in hand from us, they are one of the strongest buyers in that next transaction. It's not about just the sale that you're working with your seller. We want you to have 2 transactions. You should be working with your sellers seamlessly, not just on their sale, but on their purchase, because you want to be able to have 2 transactions, but think about the amazing experience that gives your client. They're going to tell their entire sphere of influence, the amazing experience they had with their home sale agent, the creative solutions they had, not just for their sale, but to make their purchase as strong as possible too. So it really is about, and even if your sellers don't elect those options, as long as you get the listing signed, it's a success because you put that information out there. They're likely going to tell everyone else about that. So it's going to bring more clients your way. And it's, you guys were talking a little bit about advertising and spending some money. Getting word of mouth out there that you have these options is a free way to tell everyone out there, you want to see what a cash offer looks like, you've got to come talk to me.
Yep. And I think one of the things I know that I love, Jen, that you just mentioned was, even if the seller sitting across the table from you doesn't pick this as a solution, there are so many conversations happening right now, just consumer to consumer, about what's happening in the real estate market and what's going on with inventory, that it creates such an opportunity for your client to go sell you to somebody else. And then for you to get more referrals because you have all of these options and your competitors don't have those options. So I think that's such an important piece of it. And then some of what you said really kind of dovetails into how Laurel used this with her clients. So I would love, Laurel, I feel like it's a great time for you to kind of share the scenario that your clients were in and how you used the lock option.
Yes, it did. It worked perfectly for, I guess the first time we were all hearing about it in a sales meeting, it dawned on me in that moment that it would be a perfect solution for a particular client. And I was, it was all about making their offer strong for the house that they wanted to buy. We wanted to send an offer that was not contingent on them putting their own house, which was not even on the market. And because they called me, and so it was all, they wanted to do this quickly and they weren't on the market. So we, and I have to say, the process for Quick Buy was awesome. The woman that I worked with, she was terrific. And I was concerned about timeframes and could we do this quickly enough? And she stopped me one time and said, Laurel, we're called Quick Buy. Like, okay, I got it. And they were super responsive. And I frequently was asking questions that she didn't know in that moment, but she got an answer and she got back to me quickly. So anyway, we were able to write a strong offer. Unfortunately, the house that we were trying to get was inactive under contract. The first person swooped in, figured out their problems that they were having, and like grabbed it from us because there was a kick-out clause. But we immediately used, and I was thinking about this right before the panel, it really changed the thought process for my clients. Suddenly they felt powerful. Where before they were like, how are we going to do this? We're not going to be able to do this. And then even though they didn't get that first house, they felt so powerful. They're like, well, there's this other house. We jumped in our cars and we went and grabbed the other one because they didn't need to sell their house in order to buy. They had a guaranteed strong offer there, and they grabbed the next one, and they're super happy. They just cannot believe how well it worked for them.
So they were, I'm just going to try to pull some details out. So they were not listed on the active market, concerned with buying the next house while also selling the house they were in. And they did not do the immediate cash offer. They actually did the lock where it was listed on the market, correct?
Yes, I sold it the traditional way. Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
That's where I was going with it. So Laurel sellers and buyers actually took the option of, we're going to do the Quick Buy lock where we list it on the market with a guaranteed offer in our pocket so that we can be non-contingent buyers. But they had the best of both worlds because they also had the opportunity to see what the market could do for them and have the time frame that they needed in place. Jen, do you want to speak a little bit to how that process works?
I love that you said, Laurel, empowered, because it's such a big thing we talk about in Quick Buy, empowering agents. But one aspect is that it does empower your sellers because it does make them that strong buyer. It gives them the confidence. It removes some worry that, what if I found the perfect house and my home isn't sold? It removes that worry for them. They know up front when they elect lock, if they want to take the immediate offer at some point, they already know upfront what that would be. So it gives them a good idea. What am I going to net on my sale if I do end up taking the immediate offer? I can test the market with my agent, potentially get that higher net, because we know a traditional sale is going to get any seller a higher net than any sort of iBuy solution is. And it gives them that confidence to list sooner and gives them that negotiating power, just like Laurel said, when they are a buyer out there, because they can place a non-contingent offer because they have a backup cash offer they can sign anytime. They're not obligated to take the Quick Buy immediate offer at any point, but it gives them that confidence and allows them to be empowered to list their home and be on the open marketplace as a confident buyer. And there is a small fee for that. But just like anything out there that is a backup, it's going to have a small fee, and it's not payable till your seller closes the home. So a 1% fee of what they go under contract with and their $7.95 program fee, those are paid off of their sale proceeds. So they're not upfront fees, and they never have to take the immediate offer if they don't want to. It's very clear in the addendum that we have, but it, like Laurel said, it gives your sellers the confidence to list, but then to also be that strong buyer too.
I did want to add that I did go through a very long a lot of conversations and potential for another client to use this program. They eventually decided not to. I mean, they're sticking with me and we're going to do it. But it seemed like the thing that made it easy for my first clients to go with it, and for the hesitation that the second clients decided not to, was that they were going in opposite directions with what they were buying. My first clients were upsizing. They were buying something almost double what they were selling. So the fees, they were fine with the fees. They didn't care because it was like a 1% of the lesser house that they were paying. But the other clients are going the opposite direction. They're downsizing. So the house that they're selling and the 1% fee of that, it felt bigger to them because they were buying a house that was about half what the price of what they were selling their house for. So that became like a sticking point for me in my conversations with them.
And we just like that as an agent that you are presenting this to the seller, letting them know the options. We want them to understand that the options are all from their home sale agent. We only get involved if the seller elects one of those options. We want them to pick one of those options. One of those options is always traditional listing though. And on all the paperwork, traditional listing is always there because we want your consumers to understand that this is coming from home sale and that traditional sale is most likely going to be the option they always choose. But if they would like these other options, here they are. I'm your home sale agent. I can offer you to them. All of these options involve me. You know, you might want traditional sale that might end up working the best for you, but I have these other solutions too, just in case they seem appealing to you. And the comment I get from a lot of agents that have sellers that elect one of the quick buy solutions, so many of the agents are shocked and surprised that that seller elected that option. And it is simply because sometimes sellers do feel uncomfortable talking about every issue they may have in their life. But when they see a solution that fits them and it's with their trusted agent, they feel like it's the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it kind of goes right back to the whole identifying their pain and pleasure. It's the same thing here. Like, what's the most important thing to the seller, or looking at them as a buyer and working through that obstacle and fear for them. A specific process question that came in: how do you present that cash offer? Oops, hold on, it slid. How do you present that cash offer to the agent on their next purchase if it's just a backup offer if needed, or is there an actual executed agreement of sale? If you just want to kind of speak to that process and how you handled that, Laurel.
Sure. Oh, Laurel, I know you use that. So why don't you say how it worked in your situation with your seller?
I'm sorry.
So when you were working with your buyer who had the offer from the lock in their back pocket, even though they were listed on the market, how did you present that as an offer for them being the buyer to the listing agent?
In the offer, how was it written? Okay, we just wrote that they had a guaranteed sale on the home, that there was, it's not like a contingent on sale of other property. It's not that. So I just called the agent and I told him that we were involved in the quick buy program and that there was a guaranteed sale of their home, and that it was no matter if we sold it traditionally or not, that that the home was sold.
Did the other agent ask you for any type of documentation on that?
I'm trying to remember. I may have offered it. I think he may have asked, but I think we did exchange that. Yes, I think we did exchange that documentation. Yeah. I used the documentation. I weighted out all the information, identifying information. I used that documentation in the next time we were like really drilling down and talking about this process as a way to show the process. So that documentation was helpful in that way too, just as an aside. But to answer your question, yes, the other agent was looking, I believe, for confirmation of what it was I was talking about. We're the only ones doing it, so they're unfamiliar.
So Jen, does some of that documentation that they get from you guys include proof of funds so that they have the ability to do that?
It would not, but if an agent needs it for a specific file, we can definitely provide that. Because we have had the same private investors for 25 years, we can give out that information when it's requested, but we don't want a lot of proof of funds just flying out there all the time. But it's definitely something that we can provide. To piggyback on what Laurel said too, so when your seller does elect lock and they list, they have a contract from us that they can sign at any time if they want to take the immediate offer. It doesn't change once they list on the marketplace. So it's not, here's the offer now, and 30 days later, oh no, it changes. So they know ahead of time what their net proceeds would be. And that's how it makes it so key for understanding and knowing what proceeds they'll have for their potential purchase price that they're doing on their purchase as well too. So it gives them a lot of education up front with, not just what they, are going, what they should be looking at price point wise, but what they're going to net from their sale. So it's like that, they're listing with the lock and potentially going to get that higher net. But just in case something happens with interest rates continue to go up, a buyer maybe not being able to close or pulling out of a contract quickly, I've got this backup offer here that if I need to execute it, I can, and we can step in and close in 14 days if your seller needs that.
Yep, and that's huge too. I mean, it's a huge piece in just navigating and getting them through that. Okay, so kind of continuing to go through like the scenario path, any other scenarios that you guys have identified as being common scenarios where clients seem more interested in a program like this, or that you immediately go, okay, this is definitely an opportunity here, so I'm going to proactively have that conversation?
I've been in both situations where I thought, man, this is going to work great for this client. And then I've been in a situation where I thought, well, I'm going to present it, but I'm going to kind of gloss over it because this is not the deal. Well,
Okay.
Let me tell you that I don't do that anymore. I don't try to qualify who's going to need it and who isn't, because the first person that went through with it was a client that I thought, no way he's going to want this. He's excited. He's like, man, he's lived at his home for about 8 years. The market shifted and he bought it super low, and he's going to make, a good amount of money, and he's upscaling or, upsizing, and his family's growing. So he's going to want to keep as much cash as possible. Well, as I go through the presentation and I talk through the quick buy a little bit, I saw his eyes kind of widen, and I'm thinking, what does that mean? Well, it turns out, so he was planning on selling and then trying to buy, which I knew, but what I didn't know is how he wanted to kind of, play through that arrangement, which was he was going to put everything in storage. So this means he's going to move a couple times at least. Then he was going to stay with his mother-in-law during that time while they search. All that because he wanted to be a stronger buyer. He knew the contingency situation and he wanted to be able to be strong. Well, through the quick buy, I didn't know the scenario fully, but he did. And when he jumped on it, he said, yeah, let me find out how much exactly, that would be. And when I came back and he was like, we're going to do this. And then that's when I discovered, everything that went behind his thought process, which I had no idea of. So I definitely say, don't try to qualify who it's going to work for and who it isn't. I mean, unless you know all the ins and outs of it, perhaps maybe, but otherwise it's really tough to do that. And interestingly, with his scenario, once we got under quick buy, we saw 2 houses in one day, and we put an offer in on one of them and got under contract.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that deal. And I think it says a lot to kind of step back and provide the information and empower them to make the decision, knowing that they know their situation and what they're trying to achieve with it. Any other comments you guys want to share on that before we keep going?
I love hearing stuff like that because it is, you never know which one of your clients is going to be interested in those kind of options. And the fact that this isn't a one-off chance. There are so many sellers out there that unfortunately know more about iBuying than their typical agent. And that's why it's so important to, look over some stuff maybe before you go on a listing appointment, but don't complicate it too much because they know a lot about it. So you can literally just walk into a listing presentation and say, show them all the amazing options that you have to market their home with home sale, what you typically do, the depth that you have to market and sell their home, but let them know you have other options and basically say, I have other options, a trusted investor that my company works for, and you could sell your home and close on it in 14 days. Would you like to see what that looks like? Don't have to go into too much detail because they know a lot about it already. And they are hoping that you can give them other solutions to look at before they ultimately list and sell their home with you.
Yep, absolutely. So continuing that, like in addition to the dialogue that Jen just gave, have you guys found other dialogues sitting at the listing table with somebody who is like laser focused on, well, I'm just going to sell traditionally. That's really all I'm focused on. How have you navigated the conversation or introduced them to quick buy being a potential option for them? Anything, that varies upon what Jen just kind of walked through.
Jen, I actually use it before I meet with a seller. I use it when I'm leaving a message for a prospective seller, or I get a prospective seller on the phone and sharing with them. In today's market, we offer a variety of different options to you, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, for you to take control of the situation. We offer the traditional way of exposing your home in the multiple listing on the websites out there, but we have other options. One is a cash offer. We can come in here, take a look at your property, make you a cash offer and settle in less than 30 days. We could also settle with you and let you rent back up to 6 months. Or we could let you accept the offer, but then give you an opportunity to shop that offer and try to get a higher price. So we offer you a variety of different options. If you're interested, Mr. and Ms. Seller, please give me a call at such and such, or any of those options. If it's a live call, I say, and go from there. And I'm trying them to just take one of those options so I can secure an appointment to go out to their home. But it's really great when I'm prospecting that I can give those options to the homeowner. It's just not the traditional way.
Yep, it helps to get you in the door.
And that's a great way to describe all of it too. That's the perfect lead in to talk about all of it. Simple, succinct. It gets your foot in the door. Like they want to ask questions. If you get all of those as a listing agreement and none of them accept quick buy, it's still a success because you stayed on the line with the seller and they elected to list with you.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Laurel.
So I loved that little narrative coming from Craig. It was so concise and there was no wasted words. It was beautiful. I'm going to use it just as an introductory. It was so well done. I found that how I've been introducing it is I wait for the client to tell me what they'll provide the lead in, the thing that they're afraid of, or the thing that they're worrying about, or, that they want to lease back, or, so I let them bring it up and then I go into it. But I really like what Craig just did. That was good.
Louis, anything that you're doing differently or adding into your conversation there?
No, I'm taking pointers from Craig as well.
Hey, part of it is we all get to learn from each other.
Yes, that's right. So, I don't have a pool of buyers or leads that I'm, I'm leaving kind of cold call messages for or anything of that nature. So all of mine are coming in, either someone's referred them to me from a previous transaction, or like I said earlier, sphere of influence, or a listing lead. But yeah, I think, you certainly could do it the way Craig mentioned. And that sounds like future me, not current me.
Sounds good. Shifting gears a little bit. So we're kind of going even earlier in the process. How are you guys currently advertising and positioning quick buy to create those opportunities? So, are you doing any print marketing, any social media marketing, anything in terms of just getting it out there and attracting people to those options before you even get them on the phone?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I do farming and I send a postcard out once a month. And I do that typically 10 or 11 months a year. I will put that message onto a postcard when I send it out there, and I'll give them the options. And it's just bullet points. Cash offer settled in less than 30 days. Rent back for up to 6 months, or shop our offer. So I do put that in our marketing. In my television ad, we'll bring it up that will guarantee the sale of their property also. My radio endorsements, they'll bring it up also. So I do use that in our marketing.
Okay. Yep, that's a great way to get it out there and, become one of those opportunities before you get a direct connection with them. So another question that we added in, if we move into a more neutral market or a buyer's market, what do you anticipate might be different in how you utilize this program? Anything you might shift or do differently at all?
I think we're going to see more results when the market becomes more of a balanced market. Right now, the sellers are pretty confident where they're going, and they don't see the value in this. But when it gets to be a more of a normal market, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As I said, we try to, I don't try to qualify them anymore, but what I've noticed is the people who aren't jumping on it is because they're confident that it is a seller's market and they're going to get what they're asking and then some. And so why would they jump on this? So they would have to have some circumstance or situation that would kind of push them in that direction. But in a regular market, for sure, I definitely see this as, being more valuable to the sellers.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. It's a wonderful service, and the benefits, depending on the what's happening in the market, are really going to reveal themselves as we shift. I mean, hopefully we'll have a shift, and this program, I think, is going to be really sort of banging out of the box once we move into a different area with this market.
Yeah. So now's the time. Now's the time to, hop on one of our upcoming trainings as we schedule more of those with Jen, to start using it on those intake calls and the phone call conversations to get yourself the appointment, using it at the appointment. So now's the time to really familiarize yourself with the program, get some training on it, get your questions answered so that when you guys are out there having those conversations, you're as confident as Craig just was when he rattled off that dialogue, so that we are way, way ahead of that and able to take advantage of those opportunities.
I think what's interesting is that, Dawn Fink and marketing is always doing a ton of new stuff for you guys to use, as well as revamping how Quick Buy is on the home sale website. And it's interesting because Joanne Poole's office just recently got a seller in that saw and viewed all the Quick Buy options on the home sale website, then went to the office directly wanting to see what their offer looked like. They accepted it. And at that point, Joanne, she's been through a variety of different training sessions that we've done, and I'm in a lot of her sales meetings that she does, but she assisted that agent with going over everything with the seller, feeling confident about it. And let me tell you, after that first experience with that agent, she is going to feel so confident presenting this to everyone else. We want you to put the information out there to get all of your own sellers in that are interested in it. But it's just so nice that home sales supporting you guys with all of these additional materials to bring you more leads too.
Absolutely. And I mean, Jen said it, Dawn created, and her team, Dawn and the agent services team, created a ton of different social media graphics that are out there that you can kind of grab and just post. And then they also have Canva templates that you can get to where you can actually put your own photo and branding, and you can customize it and get those to use as well. A couple very detailed questions that came in through the chat. And Jen, this one I'm going to toss to you. Do Quick Buy properties need to be turnkey? What if the property is dated, it needs updated? Do you just want to talk a little bit about qualifications?
Yeah, definitely. And as all you guys know in real estate, what cures anything on a sale? Price. So price can cure anything. So dated properties do not matter. Shag carpeting, wallpaper, what have you. When you submit everything to the department, because you're submitting it, again, the reason you're doing it is to illustrate to the seller how important it is to have a real estate professional involved with their transaction. So you are submitting everything on the app. We want as many photos as possible so that our analysts, actual people, yes, actual people are looking at the market, can see which recent closed sales relate the most closely to the subject home. So we don't care about dated, we don't care about old homes. And in fact, those are typically a lot of the sellers that appreciate and understand what the cost of convenience gets them, because they don't have to get their home market ready. They don't have to, redo flooring, redo paint, all of that. So don't worry about that type of home, because those homes are definitely approvable for the program. You go in through the app and answer all of 7 questions to see if the home will qualify. So it's a very simple process. And Jen Jones on your agent portal has all the other qualifying factors out there. A couple different features that you could say would definitely disqualify the home would be if it's currently listed on the market or has been listed in the last 6 months. It has to be a single family home, condo, or townhome. So if you have other different types of property, that wouldn't qualify. The value has to be over 100,000. It does need to be a finished home. So if there's a home in different states of finishing, or if it's under construction, that's not something that we would qualify for the program. And all of those qualifying factors really go in hand, because we have to be able to underwrite the home to the closest value possible. And if it's quote unquote unique or has some unique characteristics, it's going to be very hard for us to underwrite it. And we don't want to put you in an uncomfortable situation with your seller.
Somebody had also asked, like, where do we find everything? So where are the graphics? Where are the training materials? If you guys go into Home Sale Center, on the left side of that dashboard, there's a tab for listings. There is a tile called Quick Buy, and that'll give you access to training PowerPoints, sample contracts, grab and go graphics and marketing materials that you can use. And it also links to the ones in Canva that you can personalize, customize, and use and post on social media. Okay. What we will do after today, I will send out the recording of this session, send out some upcoming training opportunities for you guys, and then also just a reminder of where to find everything. So what I will say kind of as we're winding down is there anything as panelists you guys want to share before we wrap up? Any additional comments, advice that you would give everybody, or thoughts on how to best really leverage and take advantage of this program?
I think Lewis made a great statement earlier, is don't judge your clients who's going to want it, who's not going to. Our job is to educate the client and let them make that choice. I think Quick Buy is another program that Home Sale offers to show the value of us as home sale agents. I think I'd highly recommend you use that in your prospecting dialogue and your listing appointments.
I would also add to that even if we are talking with folks who this isn't a question for them and it's not something they thought of asking, whenever we present it as something that we have to offer in case they want to consider it, it just makes us, it gives them the confidence that we are full service and that we are, we're going to help them in any, solve any problem, whatever it is, even if they're not even having that problem. It's just it just makes us look like the professionals that they need us to be.
Yeah, well, having a technical background, I'll my last few comments will be more on the technical side of the process. Using the app, the Quick Buy app, it's really easy. All I had to do was, I know there's those questions initially to make sure that the home qualifies. Then I submit the pictures. So as part of my process, when I go in with, as far as the listing presentation, I've got what I call a discussion checklist that I always go through. I walk in, it's the consumer notice. I'll walk through the home. And during that walkthrough, I ask permission to kind of take pictures. and knowing in mind that those are
Nope, I think he froze. Okay, sounds like he's saying that when he gets out to the house for the first time, he's using the app and taking pictures right on his phone, because the app does make it extremely easy to upload those pictures right away, right on your phone, plug in the property details, answer some of the qualifying questions, and submit it so that you can get an official offer. And Jen, feel free to chime in and fill in some of those missing pieces and speak to that.
No, and I love hearing that it's easy. And we don't want anyone to be nervous about using it. So if you have any questions, Jen put my information in there. Feel free to email me. I'll call, send me your email with your signature. I'll give you a call. We'll talk about everything. If you have any nervousness or any hesitancy with using it, I'm happy to talk you through anything, go through scenarios, just talking points so that you can use it to get into that listing presentation. And I think, like Craig and Laura already said, it's not necessarily about, does it work with the seller? It's, when you go on a listing presentation, you want to tell every seller you talk to all of the options that you have to market their home, because it might not be an option they use, but it might be an option that they tell someone else about in the future that brings someone your way. So, and you never know, it might not work for that seller at this point in their life, but maybe they have someone else in their family that they're thinking, oh, this is the perfect thing for them. I'm going to have Sally call you because this is the type of program that they're really looking for. And it's really about just getting that free information out for everyone out there, because if you don't tell the sellers that you have it, they're not going to know that you have it.
Yep. And one of the things that we did to make you guys feel even more comfortable with that process is we created an exclusion form. What that exclusion form gives you the ability to do is not walk out of that appointment without getting your listing contract signed. So, one of the comments Jen made when she was talking about qualifications, and a property that's already listed, active and actively marketed out there already doesn't qualify because it's already on the market. However, when you're sitting across the table having that conversation with your seller and they're interested in seeing a quick buy offer, you can get that listing contract signed. Don't leave without that signed. Get the listing contract signed where it's not going to be active for a couple days. That's a normal part of the process because you need to get out there and get the professional photos anyways. That will leave you enough time to get the offer. So as soon as you walk out, and this is kind of what Lewis was saying, you walk out of there, you've already got the pictures on your phone, you upload everything, you submit it, you get the offer within about 24 to 48 hours. So you have it before it's even active on the market. And if your seller decides to do it, that exclusion form that they signed with the listing contract takes care of the process so that you guys don't have to walk out the door going, well, I can't get my listing contract signed because they need to make a decision first, but they don't have the offer to look at to make the decision. All of that process was eliminated, and we worked through it so that you can get the listing contract signed, you get the exclusion form signed. If they decide to accept the quick buy offer, it essentially is voiding that contract. And if they don't, your contract's still in place. So you don't feel like it's in any way a choice that they have to make right there. It's, hey, we can get it signed so that you are going to list this property while you're making that final decision. So that is a new form that we introduced about a month ago, and it is in .loop. So that'll kind of eliminate any concerns with feeling like you maybe can't bring up the conversation, because today you heard all of the reasons why it's important enough to have the conversation. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Jen, Laurel, Lewis, and Craig. I absolutely appreciate you getting on here to share your thoughts and advice. Thank you to everybody who tuned in today. I will make sure to send out the recording, training opportunities, Jen's contact information, and everything else that you might need. I hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it.